Unless you've been living under a rock, you probably know about the amazing success of Deadpool and Wolverine. It's been tracking well since the very beginning, like 8 months out. It looked like it was going to be successful. Then once we got the order, and then once we got tickets go on sale for like pre-orders and stuff, it was like, okay, this thing's going to be really successful. Then when we got to the previews, like, whoa, this thing might break records. And then we got to the opening weekend, and it blew away records and is doing very, very well. And this is the big win that Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios really needed, that Disney really needed. Obviously, they also got Inside Out 2 as well, because they did move out a lot of their bad projects from 2024 into 2025. And I believe Disney were really hoping for a big bounce back. It appears that that is happening, and that is shaking up the plans for the MCU that we knew. Things are being removed, things are being added, titles are being changed, and we do have some start dates on a production that I think will get a lot of people very, very excited, because Disney did shell out north of $70 billion for Fox Studios and haven't really cashed in on it. I don't know that Fantastic Four is going to be the one. They got another project that I imagine that you can guess that we'll get to here at the end that looks like it'll start production next year. Let's get to the details of why this big shakeup is happening. Nothing could stop Deadpool and Wolverine from keeping the #1 spot at the weekend box office. There was no competition. The Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman MCU movie is in a league of its own. Deadpool and Wolverine grossed close to $100 million during its second weekend of release, representing a 54% drop. The third Deadpool movie will pass the $400 million domestic mark on Monday and $830 million worldwide. Again, this is less than 2 weeks since its release. And that's pretty wild, because I believe in the second week of Deadpool and Wolverine, it outgrossed the Marvels during its entire domestic run. And that's not even counting the opening weekend. That just kind of underscores not only how popular and how amazingly Deadpool and Wolverine is performing, but just how far the MCU had fallen, with the Marvels being really that big nadir point where you're like, I didn't think that they could actually get this far down, but they're not even going to turn a profit, and they're actually going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars. So this has been a godsend for Disney and Marvel Studios, getting their mojo back. They do have some projects to get through that I think they're going to probably wish they hadn't been working on before they realized phases 4 and 5 were all basically crap and nobody was really buying into it, and that they were going to have to pivot, change course if they wanted the MCU to remain a viable franchise moving forward. But Deadpool and Wolverine lets you know once again, if you do lots of nostalgia bait, you bring in some characters played by actors people actually like and are attached to, you could make massive, massive amounts of money. I do believe and have always believed the superhero fatigue theory was nothing more than that, was not actually truth, was just a theory out there that if you put out good movies that people were compelled to go watch, they would do it. If the trailer looks good, you get the right actors, you tell the right story, people will still show up to the theater. It is no longer the height of the MCU where every single movie is almost guaranteed to do $1 billion. That's not where we're at anymore, and it's not because of superhero fatigue. It's because the MCU and Kevin Feige ruined their own product. A major reason for that was the incorporation of the MCU into Disney Plus and being a focal point of that. Far too much product out there. Plus, they just decided to go out there and hire every Tom, Dick, and Harry that checked a certain box to write and produce and direct a movie starring characters that no one ever really liked to begin with. Now, let's talk about some of the changes that are coming with the upcoming schedule. Here's the schedule that we have. Captain America Brave New World, February 14th, 2025. Thunderbolts Asterisk is now updated to just Thunderbolts, May 2nd, 2025. The Fantastic Four First Steps is an updated title to the Fantastic Four, July 25th, 2025. Blade, November 7th, 2025. Avengers Doomsday, May 1st, 2026. Avengers Secret Wars, May 7th, 2027. New untitled Marvel project, July 23rd, 2022, and a second untitled Marvel project, November 5th, 2027. Blade still sticks with this November 2025 release date. The script is still being worked on. The film has no director, and Mahershala Ali is filming the new Jurassic World movie at the moment. Disney also dropped an untitled July 24, 2026 release date for a Marvel movie, which presently leaves only one Marvel movie being released in 2026, Avengers Doomsday. If Blade doesn't make the cut, there will likely be 3 Marvel movies in 2025, either 1 in 2026 or 2 if Blade moves back to that year. And then there will be 3 Marvel movies in 2027, starting with Avengers Secret Wars, followed by the 2 untitled Marvel movies. And we will get to at least one of those untitled Marvel movies and projects. I believe we have a very firm grasp on what that is. I'm still shocked that they have not canceled the Blade movie or just taken it off the schedule. They are in production hell. They've had the same actor attached to the film, and they've gone through 3 to 4 directors now. I think they've gone through like 7 or 8 different sets of writers and have not nailed down the script that they want to tell. Apparently, cracking the Blade code is fucking science to Kevin Feige. You can't just figure out, just make a Blade movie where he fights vampires with like a sidekick. It's not that difficult, but there were all the rumors where they wanted to put in his daughter Bloodline, who nobody even knows who that is, and it was going to be like a girl power movie. Obviously, the biggest news is Avengers Doomsday, announced at Hall 8 San Diego Comic-Con. Robert Downey Jr. coming back to play Victor Von Doom. Will it just be a weird version of Tony Stark from another multiverse? I kind of think that's what it'll be. Or will he actually be playing Victor Von Doom, which is what I'm hoping it's going to be. But that's the really big news, because Kevin Feige has realized Phase 4 was garbage. It's time to pivot and actually make stuff that people want to see. And that's going to be really the beginning of this new age of Marvel, I guess. But they do have to get through a bunch of crap that likely Kevin Feige, Marvel Studios, Bob Iger, Disney wish never went into production. Captain America, Brave New World. Stinkeroonie written all over that one. It's also been in production hell. I believe they're on the 3rd set of reshoots. They can't nail down the ending. Nobody really likes Falcon Cap anyway. He was terrible in the show. He's been awful in comic books. And I don't imagine he's going to make it work in movies, even with Harrison Ford playing Red Hulk. Thunderbolts, there should be interest in something like this, but it doesn't appear that it's really out there. I'm glad they removed the stupid asterisk. It made no sense to be on there. Now it's just Thunderbolts. If it was led by like Bucky Barnes and they had a compelling story, maybe that would be something people would be into. I know a lot of people did like the Winter Soldier, including myself. I'm hearing rumors that he's not even really in the movie anymore. So I don't think that's going to really work out. A lot of pushback on the Fantastic Four, now called Fantastic Four First Steps. Sounds like it's going to be set in the 60s in another multiverse that's still in the 60s with JFK and stuff like that. Arriving over here, maybe they lost one of their anchor beings or whatever that stupid concept that's just been announced. Obviously, the Fantastic Four still has hope, and that really is the first chip that they're cashing when it comes to that Fox deal for $70 billion plus. What a massive overpay on that one just to get Fantastic Four and X-Men. But it's weird casting. I don't know exactly why they're doing that. Of course, there's also the prevalent rumors that this Fantastic Four movie is going to be about Sue Storm and fighting the patriarchy, and Reed Richards is going to be like the symbol of misogyny and all that kind of stuff, which certainly won't work. The heart and soul of the Fantastic Four, when it works, is the Thing. And it sounds like he's even really an afterthought in that movie. But we do have 2 untitled projects coming after Doomsday. We know Secret Wars is really going to be like a reboot, getting back to a square one type Marvel Cinematic Universe. But now we'll have the Fantastic Four, and we'll have the X-Men in there. And it sounds like one of those untitled Marvel projects will be the first official MCU X-Men movie. Recently, Kevin Feige stated that the mutant era was soon coming in the MCU, which means we're going to be getting the X-Men reboot that's been long awaited by fans. Now we have Production Weekly indicating a late 2025 production start for X-Men, which seemingly verifies a previous report hinting at the same date. Rafe Judkins and Michael Leslie are in the mix to write the script. No filmmaker is attached just yet. It was just last month that reports indicated Jordan Peele had met with Marvel to helm the reboot, but it doesn't look like anything materialized out of that meeting. Jordan Peele would be a very interesting choice to helm an X-Men movie. There certainly have been some horror elements within X-Men and certainly New Mutants and stuff like that in the past. While I don't think that's a great choice, it does give me hope that Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios are really intent on going out there and hiring real filmmakers, people with resumes, people that have had success doing stuff. I'm not sure that Jordan Peele is an actual comic book fan, but maybe even he likes comic books on top of that. But X-Men really is the crown jewel of the acquisition of Fox, $70 billion plus. Massive overpay. I can't believe they did that. But they did it, and they need the X-Men to be another sub-franchise within the MCU itself to be able to sustain itself, but also tie into the MCU, starting with Secret Wars. We've obviously seen a massive appeal to Wolverine, played by Hugh Jackman, from the Fox universe show up, and we got plenty of cameos from those Fox actors and characters showing up within that Deadpool and Wolverine movie. But I don't expect any of that. I expect this X-Men movie to be a clean slate and really the beginning of what Kevin Feige's vision for the X-Men is in the MCU. Right now, they're just kind of playing on nostalgia. Once Secret Wars happens and they reset the universe, and you can bring back Steve Rogers, and you can bring back Tony Stark, and you can bring back Natasha Romanoff, and you can bring back Loki and a lot of the other characters that have died off or aged out or whatever, you're starting with a fresh X-Men team. That's kind of the way I understand it. I would be very, very shocked if they don't go with the X-Men 97 vibes. I know there's a lot of reporting out there claiming that X-Men 97 wasn't successful because people were comparing the X-Men 97 numbers to live action shows. I don't really know that you can do that. I think you have to compare it to similar media out there, i.e. other cartoon adaptations and stuff like that. How's it performing against Invincible and things of that nature? Not really sure how that is, but I think people acting like this has just been an enormous failure. I might be wrong on that one. I don't know. But I don't know what the categories or what categorically makes a cartoon a success on Disney Plus. Has that threshold even been established? But what I do know is Kevin Feige and the MCU got a tremendous amount of goodwill from people that genuinely like the show, and they like the way that the characters are portrayed for the most part. So I imagine we're going to be getting much more X-Men 97 old school cartoon vibes to this, rather than maybe a Fox Universe vibe or even a Krakoa vibe, one of the more recent eras of X-Men within comic books, which would be very, very difficult to execute. I think I think Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios are going to go back to what worked in other mediums and really try to highlight it and see if they can pull that off for 4 or 5 years within the MCU. And I do believe if it's even done halfway decent, I don't even think it has to be great, because the X-Men are that recognizable and are that awesome that even if it's pretty average, as long as it's kind of close, it will do very, very well. Won't do Endgame numbers, obviously. Might not even do Deadpool and Wolverine numbers. It looks like it's heading towards at least $1.5 billion, which would be Spider-Man No Way Home numbers. Obviously, if they really nail it and they get some awesome movies on the level of an X2, which I think is fantastic, or even X-Men, and then the third Fox movie that I think is really, really good is X-Men First Class. Maybe they do hit those $1.8 billion kind of benchmarks and stuff like that have been the high level or high water mark for the MCU, outside of Avengers movies. Because I do think the X-Men can be its own Avengers level franchise, to where, yes, it ties in and connects tangentially to the MCU, but you can probably do a couple of different projects and then lead up to an Apocalypse, or you can lead up to a big Magneto event, or maybe Shi'ar Empire and some of those type of things there, because the X-Men has an enormous amount of cachet. This is going to be very important, and it does make me happy to know that they're at least going out there and approaching established filmmakers that have resumes, that have had success, and likely can make a really, really good movie, because X-Men is really going to be the linchpin. Will it be as big as Avengers? I think it can be. But they do need to find the right creative talent for that. Marvel are shaking things up. Deadpool and Wolverine, obviously an enormous success. They're going to have to get through a couple of years of crap that was already in the pipeline before we get to Doomsday, and then we start to get a real feel of what the MCU is going to be moving forward. And I'm very cautiously optimistic. You know what I mean? I don't want to be I'm all in. But I can see how this could work. If you like what we're doing here on Thinking Critical YouTube, providing a shining light of honesty and truth to the comic book industry and all the things around it, like comic book movies and television shows and things of that nature, and you would like to support us in that mission, I do invite you to come visit me over on Think Critical Patreon. We got a couple, 3 tiers, bunch of extra podcasts, 32 hours a month, and it's actually going to go up very, very soon, up to, I believe, 36 hours of new content every single month on those podcasts, exclusive to Think Critical Patreon. I hope to see you there. There's a link in the video description if you want to pay a visit.